He said it with a straight face. That was the part that made it land. Not a grin first. Not a playful setup. Not the kind of telegraphed humor that lets everyone prepare themselves before the punchline arrives. He waited until the room had settled into the warmth of the moment. Until Freddie Freeman was standing there with 2,500 career hits behind him and a clubhouse full of teammates in front of him. Until the champagne was open and the noise had reached that particular frequency that only exists when a group of people are genuinely, uncalculatedly happy. And then Shohei Ohtani looked at Freddie Freeman and said 4 words. "I want one more." The Dodgers clubhouse erupted. Not the polite laughter of men trying to be supportive. The real kind. The uncontrollable kind. The kind that doubles people over and makes them grab the nearest shoulder for balance. The kind that takes a full 30 seconds to die down and then starts again the moment someone makes eye contact with someone else. Freddie Freeman's face did 3 different things in approximately 2 seconds. Mookie Betts, standing across the room with his wife, heard it and lost his composure entirely. And Shohei Ohtani stood in the middle of all of it with the expression of a man who had said something perfectly reasonable and could not understand why everyone found it so amusing. That expression made it worse. The laughter got louder. Numbers in baseball carry weight that numbers in other sports don't quite replicate. 3,000 hits is the cathedral. The milestone that stops games and clears schedules and brings Hall of Fame voters to attention before the player has even officially retired. Everyone knows 3,000. Everyone understands what it represents. But 2,500 is something different. Quieter. More personal. It belongs to the player before it belongs to the record books. It is the number that sits in the space between extraordinary and legendary and says, "Look how far you've already come." Freddie Freeman had been in professional baseball for 17 years when he reached it. 17 years of morning workouts and late-night flights and the specific kind of exhaustion that accumulates in a body that has swung a bat more times than most people will ever be able to calculate. 17 years of building something hit by hit, season by season, in a sport that humbles everyone eventually. 2,500 times the ball had left the infield because of him. That deserved a moment. The Dodgers gave him one. It started the way these things always start. Quietly at first. The way a storm starts as a few drops before the sky opens completely. Someone had organized it. There are always people behind the scenes of spontaneous moments, which is perhaps the most beautiful contradiction in team sports. The balloons existed. The champagne existed. The banner someone had clearly spent real time making existed. None of that happens by accident. But what happens inside those planned moments, what the people in them contribute that no amount of organizing can manufacture, that part was entirely real. Freeman walked into the clubhouse after the game and stopped. He stood in the doorway for a moment longer than necessary. The room was full. Not just players. Staff. Coaches. The people who exist in the margins of a baseball season and make everything run without ever appearing on a box score. They were all there. All of them looking at a man who had given 17 years to a game and had just been given something back. Freeman pressed his lips together. He looked at the ceiling briefly. The way people look at the ceiling when they are trying to keep something inside that very much wants to come out. Then he looked back at the room. "All right," he said. "You got me." The room cheered. The champagne opened. And somewhere in the warmth of all of it, Shohei Ohtani was already waiting. The speeches came first. Dave Roberts spoke. Brief, warm, specific in the way good managers are specific. He didn't use general words about greatness. He used a particular at-bat from 3 weeks earlier. A moment most of the room remembered. He used Freddie Freeman's name the way you use a name when you genuinely mean every syllable of it. A few other players spoke. Some funny. Some sincere. Some attempting funny and landing somewhere beautifully between the two. Freeman responded. He thanked people in the order that revealed exactly who he was. The staff before the stars. The people who tape ankles and wash uniforms before the people whose names appear on jerseys. He did it naturally, without performance. The way a man thanks people when the gratitude is real and the list is long and he doesn't care how long it takes. The room was warm. The room was loud. The room was the best version of what a baseball clubhouse can be when the competition stops for an evening and the human beings inside the competition remember each other. And then someone gestured toward Ohtani. The room settled slightly. Curious. Because Ohtani's English had been expanding, and the clubhouse knew it, and there was always a particular energy when he chose to use it for something. He didn't give a speech. He waited 1 beat. 2 beats. The timing of someone who had thought about this more carefully than he was letting on. Then he looked directly at Freeman. I want 1 more. The room took exactly 1 second to process it. Then it came apart. Mookie Betts had been standing near the back of the room with his wife when it happened. She heard the joke at the same moment he did. They looked at each other first, the way couples look at each other when something catches them both simultaneously. Then they looked at Ohtani. Then back at each other. She started laughing first. Mookie followed approximately half a second later, which was approximately half a second longer than everyone else. He found Freeman across the room. Freeman had both hands over his face. His shoulders were shaking. The kind of laughter that takes over the whole body and leaves no part of it untouched. Mookie pointed at him. Not mockingly. Affectionately. The way teammates point at each other when the moment belongs to one of them and everyone else is just lucky to be in the room. His wife leaned into him slightly, still laughing. He put his arm around her shoulders. They stood like that together while the room continued its slow recovery from 4 words that had somehow summarized something true about this team in a way that 1,000 more careful words could not have managed. Later, someone asked Mookie about the moment. He shook his head slowly, grinning at the memory of it. You have to understand, he said. The timing. The face he made. The fact that he said it like it was the most normal request in the world. He paused. That's Shohei. He watches everything. He understands everything. And then when the moment is exactly right, he does something nobody sees coming. Another pause. Freddie didn't know what to do with himself. He recovered eventually. It took longer than most things take Freddie Freeman. He is, by the accounts of everyone who has played alongside him, a composed man. A steady presence. The kind of veteran whose equilibrium doesn't shake easily after 17 years of professional baseball have tested it in every conceivable way. Ohtani shook it in 4 words. When Freeman finally composed himself enough to respond, the room had quieted back down to a level where words were possible again. He looked at Ohtani. He looked at him the way you look at someone when you are simultaneously exasperated and completely delighted and have no idea which emotion to lead with. 1 more, Freeman repeated back at him. He wants 1 more. The room laughed again. Softer this time. The second wave of a joke that had already landed and was now settling into something the clubhouse would carry for a long time. Freeman walked over to him. He put his hand on the back of Ohtani's neck the way veterans do with teammates they have genuinely claimed. Brief. Firm. Real. He said something quiet. Just between the 2 of them. The cameras didn't catch it and nobody repeated it afterward. But Ohtani nodded. And the expression on his face in that moment was not the blank straight face of the joke. It was something warmer than that. Dave Roberts watched all of it from the edge of the room. He had been managing long enough to know the difference between a clubhouse that performs togetherness and a clubhouse that actually has it. The difference is not always visible in the standings. Sometimes it doesn't show up until October, when the performances stop and the real thing underneath them either holds or doesn't. He watched Freeman laughing with both hands over his face. He watched Mookie and his wife standing together in the back of the room, still recovering. He watched Ohtani in the middle of it all, finally allowing the straight face to break into something that reached his eyes. A reporter asked him afterward what he saw when he looked at that room. Roberts was quiet for a moment. "I saw a team," he said. Simple. Direct. The kind of answer that doesn't need anything added to it. Not a roster. Not a payroll. A team. He paused once more. Freddie's been building that for 17 years. Mookie's been building it since he got here. And Shohei, Roberts stopped. Seemed to choose his next words carefully. Shohei walked into this clubhouse and understood immediately what it needed to be. And he became part of it in a way that I don't think any of us fully expected that fast. The reporter asked, "Even with the language barrier?" Roberts smiled. "4 words," he said. "I want one more. No barrier in the world stops that from landing. It exists somewhere in someone's phone. Not a professional shot. Not a posed image with good lighting and a team photographer's eye for composition. A real one. The kind that gets taken in the middle of something rather than at the edge of it. Freeman in the center. Champagne somewhere nearby. The banner visible in the background. And around him, the people who had built this season with him, in the specific arrangement that only happens when nobody is thinking about how it looks. Ohtani is in it. Somewhere to the left, slightly turned, caught mid-expression in the tail end of a laugh. Mookie is in it. His wife beside him. Both of them looking at Freeman rather than the camera. 2,500 hits behind him. The room full in front of him. And somewhere in the noise and the champagne and the warmth of a clubhouse that had just remembered why it plays this game, 4 words still hanging in the air. I want one more.